Good morning, families of faith, and happy Monday. It is good to connect with you as caregivers and parents and teachers this week. I want to kind of frame this week's lesson in Celebrate Wonder. You know that we talked about the birth of Isaac last week, and this week we're going to talk about the birth of Jacob and Esau. Jacob and Esau are the twins born to Isaac and Rachel. And if you'll remember Abraham's promise that his offspring would become a great nation, it is the Jacob and Isaac story that really kicks that promise into high gear. Our focus in this story really is about how we can be very different from one another, but we can still be lovable. And so I want to start by just reading the text to you today and see where we go from there. I'm reading from Genesis 25, verses 19 to 28 from the New Revised Standard Version. These are the descendants of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham was the father of Isaac, and Isaac was 40 years old when he married Rebekah, daughter of Bethuel the Aramean of Paddan Aram, sister of Laban the Aramean. Isaac prayed to the Lord for his wife because she was barren, and the Lord granted his prayer, and his wife Rebekah conceived. The children struggled together within her, and she said, "If this is to be the way, why do I live?" So she went to inquire of the Lord, and the Lord said to her, "Two nations are in your womb, and two peoples born of you shall be divided. One shall be stronger than the other. The elder shall serve the younger." When her time to give birth was at hand, there were twins in her womb. The first came out red, all his body like a hairy mantle, so they named him Esau. Afterward, his brother came out with his hand gripping Esau's heel, so he was named Jacob. Isaac was 60 years old when she bore them. When the boys grew up, Esau was a skillful hunter, a man of the field, while Jacob was a quiet man living in tents. Isaac loved Esau because he was fond of game, but Rebekah loved Jacob. There is so much in this story, and so much of it is just developmentally complicated for kids, right? And so, again, the focus for the way we're going to handle the Jacob and Esau story is really that they were two very different people and that they were both blessed in some way. So this is a story with weird details, right? So Esau is described as being red and hairy, and we don't actually get quite a physical description of Jacob here, although later in the text he's referred to as fair, I believe. That's a funny detail for kids, right? Let's just own that there are stories in the Bible that provide some funny things. So ask the kids to think about the difference between a baby that's red and hairy and a baby that isn't. And I'm pretty sure that you'll get some pretty funny pictures out of it if you invite them to do that. Other strange details in this text, the kids aren't hearing the scripture per se, they're hearing a retelling of the story. And so this idea of two nations, for us adults, it's the idea that Isaac was 60 years old when these babies were born, and that Rachel was barren, and that this seems to be a recurring theme in these stories, and that God is the solution to that recurring theme, which I'm going to just name is really hard if you've struggled with infertility issues. I acknowledge that in this story there are some super hard adult things, and so that's why we're going to narrow the focus for kids. So the adult spiritual practice for this week has to do with taking a moment to notice the things that we can observe about ourselves and being grateful for them. We talked a little bit last week about gratitude, and this week it is a focus on being grateful for the ways that we are uniquely created, whether that is our appearance or a specific skill set, any of those things. Also, here in November, we have a new focus word, and the focus word is blessing. And you know that in the adult sermon series on Sunday mornings, we have wrestled with this word blessing. We've talked about it a lot. And the symbol that I've chosen to be for blessing is this big, heavy rock, because sometimes blessings are really obvious to us, and other times it takes a while for us to see what is good and true about whatever the blessing is that we've received, which makes the word blessing, as we have to grapple with it as adults, super tough for kids. But for our kids, a simple definition of blessing is simply this: blessings are all the things God provides. And so I invite you this week to spend some time thinking about that question. What are some blessings that you and your family can point to? And when you can point to a blessing, how is it that you give thanks for that? Or what is it that you do in response to that blessing? So, big week, Jacob, Esau, differences, blessings. I hope that you have fun with the activities. I'd love to hear how it's going for you. I'd love to hear if these Monday videos are actually useful for you, or if there are other parts and pieces of information that I can provide you as adults that make this journey easier or more fruitful or more satisfactory. I pray you are well. The weather's changing, the light is changing, the sleep patterns are changing, and that can all be really complicated. I know you're doing hard work, and I pray with you every day. Be well.